Lifting his eyes and seeing the Jordan Valley well watered, resembling the garden of the Lord, Lot made a decision that would forever alter the shape of his destiny. How can a man who was swimming in wealth with many servants and cattle be forced to live in a cave and end up with nothing? From the height of prosperity to the depth of destruction, this is the story of Lot that will leave you wondering, what's the true cost of our choices? If you are new here, please subscribe, like, and share this video to help us make more appealing videos for you. Born in the ancient and prosperous city of Ur in Mesopotamia, Lot's early life was shrouded in luxury and privilege. His very name, meaning to conceal or cover, hinted at a future layered with mystery. Tragedy struck when his father, Haran, died in the Ur of the Chaldees. This loss set his grandfather, Terah, on a fateful journey toward Canaan, a land destined to alter the course of history. Yet, despite his vision, Terah halted in Haran with his sons, Abraham and Lot. There, Terah met his end, leaving behind an unfulfilled dream. But as the dust settled on Terah's grave, a divine spark ignited within Abram, rekindling the quest for Canaan. Little did they know, the true destination lay hidden in the hands of fate, waiting to be unveiled. Having been told by God to leave his country and relatives to journey to a land he would show him, Abraham took off in obedience to God. One might think that Lot was wealthy at this point. Lot was a young man with dreams of his own, and since he wasn't yet established, he chose to follow Abraham on a journey to an unknown land. Through scorching deserts and treacherous paths, Lot witnessed the power of faith and perseverance. But he also saw the shadows of doubt and the cracks in human nature. Abraham's faith never wavered, but Lot's heart was not so steadfast. Even when the Lord vindicated Abraham in the eyes of Pharaoh, warning him that he was a dead man, it struck a Lot in Lot's heart. Abraham went up to Egypt to seek refuge since there was a famine in the land. Pharaoh saw Sarah and took her. The Bible says that Abraham was shown favor a lot because of Sarah. He doubled his fortunes. He acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, men servants and maid servants, and camels. Thinking it was Abraham alone, Lot benefited a lot because he was with Abraham. Remember what God told Abraham, "I will bless him that bless you, and I will curse him that curses you." Lot's wealth rose to a height, but the danger was knocking at the door. Pride often rises in our hearts when we think we have reached a height. The book of Proverbs says pride goes before destruction, and this was exactly what happened to Lot. Lot and Abraham's herds grew large, their wealth increased, and soon their combined prosperity became too great for the land to sustain them both. It was here that Lot's fate took a fateful turn. Was Lot full of himself, not respecting Abraham? Or what actually led to this decision? There was constant strife between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle. To avoid conflict, Abraham proposed a separation. He offered Lot the first choice of the land. This was no simple decision, a generous offer indeed. But what would you do in Lot's position? The choice he makes at this moment will set in motion a chain of events that will change his life forever. Lot's eyes were drawn to the lush, fertile plains of the Jordan Valley, a land rich with water, like the Garden of Eden. But this paradise came with a price, for within it lay the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, places of great wickedness. Dip in the euphoria of his wealth, Lot chose the fertile plains, moving his family and possessions to the valley. But we must wonder, did he know what awaited him in those glittering cities? Or was he blinded by the promise of wealth and comfort? At first, Lot's life in the valley seemed prosperous. His flocks thrived, and his wealth grew. But the closer he got to Sodom, the more he was drawn into its web of corruption and sin. In Sodom and Gomorrah, the air is thick with the scent of exotic spices and the clamour of commerce. It's a far cry from the quiet life Lot has known. But Lot is drawn in, like a moth to a flame. The city was a place where morality was cast aside, where the revelry of the wicked drowned out the cries of the innocent. Historically, Sodom and Gomorrah were located in the plain south of the Dead Sea, which is now covered with water. History has it that the city was filled with sodomy. This is extreme sexual immorality that you could not imagine. Filled to the brim with fornication, incest, homosexuality, and whatever you can think, Sodom and Gomorrah were a habitat of evil. Yet, with all this wickedness and depravity that seep through the city of Sodom, Lot chooses to stay. Why? What compels a righteous man to dwell among the wicked? Lot's heart was torn. He saw the suffering and injustice, yet he did nothing. He was a man caught between two worlds, his soul trapped in a city destined for destruction. The warnings were clear. After all, Lot soon becomes a prominent figure in Sodom, sitting at the city gates, a position reserved for respected elders and judges. But at what cost does this prominence come? This is the time for judgment. This is the time for God's wrath. Nobody will be exempted. What would cause God to decide to send his angels down on earth to wipe a city? Sodom and Gomorrah's time has elapsed, but God couldn't hide his plan from his faithful friend Abraham. Mind you, without Abraham's intercession to God, Lot would have been destroyed along with Sodom and Gomorrah. Sitting in front of his tent one faithful afternoon, God decided to pass through the tent of Abraham. Perceiving that these three men weren't ordinary, Abraham incepted them and decided to offer them food. Calling one Lord during the whole communication process indicates that Abraham knew this was the Lord. Despite the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah being set to be destroyed for their wickedness, Abraham pleaded for the lives of the righteous, and the angels agreed to spare the cities if 10 righteous people could be found. But the question is, were they even 5 righteous people in Sodom worth saving? As the sun began to set over Sodom, the city was covered in a gloomy twilight. Lot, a man of discernment, sat at the gate. His eyes, seasoned by years of wisdom, caught sight of 2 strangers approaching. There was something otherworldly about them, a sense of power and mystery that compelled Lot to rise immediately. With a respectful bow, his forehead touching the ground, he greeted them. "My lords, please come to your servant's house. Stay the night, wash your feet, and rise early to continue your journey." The strangers, with a calm yet firm resolve, declined, insisting they would stay in the street all night. Lot's heart quickened with an instinctive dread. He knew the dangers of the city too well and pressed them urgently until they agreed to his hospitality. Night fell, and as the guests settled, the atmosphere in Sodom grew thick with an impending danger. Suddenly, a loud uproar arose outside. Young and older men from every corner of the city surrounded Lot's house. They called out with malicious intent, demanding that Lot bring out the strangers. Stepping outside, closing the door behind him, with his heart pounding. "Lot begs them, my brothers, do not act so wickedly," he pleaded. Desperation edged his voice as he offered his 2 daughters to appease the mob. Think of it, Lot offering his virgin daughters to a mob to protect his guests. How could he make such a horrifying proposition? What kind of moral compass guides a father to sacrifice his children's innocence? The crowd's response was scornful and aggressive. "Stand back," they shouted. "This man came as an outsider, and now he dares to judge us." Their anger intensified, and they pressed forward, ready to break down the door. In that moment of intense danger, the strangers revealed their true nature. With a swift motion, they pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Suddenly, everyone was struck with blindness. Confusion and panic seized the attackers as they stumbled aimlessly, unable to find the door. Inside, the strangers turned to Lot with urgency. "Do you have any other family here? Get them out, for we are about to destroy this place. The outcry against its people has reached the Lord, and he has sent us to destroy it." Lot rushed to his sons-in-law, who thought his warnings were a joke. Morning dawned with a sense of dread hanging over the city. The angels hastened Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters, grabbing their hands and leading them out, for the Lord's mercy was upon them. "Flee for your lives," the angels commanded once they were safely outside. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away. Lot, filled with fear and gratitude, begged for a reprieve. My lords, if I have found favor in your eyes, let me flee to the small town nearby. It is just a little one, but there I can find refuge and live. The angels granted his request, sparing the town of Zor. As the sun rose and Lot entered Zor, the heavens unleashed a torrent of brimstone and fire upon Sodom and Gomorrah, wiping the cities and everything in them. Amid the divine destruction, a heartbreaking event occurred. Lot's wife, unable to resist, looked back at the burning cities, and in an instant she was transformed into a pillar of salt, a stark reminder of the consequences of disobedience. Lot was left with his daughters, haunted by the loss of his wife and the destruction of his home. He and his daughters sought refuge in the mountains, living in a cave. The once prosperous man was now a broken figure, his spirit shattered by the events he had witnessed. But the story does not end here. For in the darkness of the cave, a new chapter of sin unfolded, a chapter so disturbing and hard to fathom. Fearing the end of their family line, Lot's daughters devised a desperate plan. The older daughter whispers, "Our father is old, and there is no man around here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine and then sleep with him and preserve our family line through our father." And so, on 2 consecutive nights, Lot's daughters get him drunk and lie with him. The righteous man, who once offered these very daughters to a mob, now becomes an unwitting participant in incest. The children born of these unions become the fathers of the Moabites and Ammonites, future enemies of Israel. But what are we to make of this story? Is Lot a victim of circumstance, or the architect of his own downfall? Each decision seems to lead him further from righteousness and deeper into moral compromise. But aren't we all capable of such compromises, given the right circumstances? This challenges us to examine our own choices and the company we keep. After all, how many of us have found ourselves slowly adapting to environments or situations that, in hindsight, were detrimental to our moral character? However, the most chilling aspect of Lot's story is its relevance to our modern world. In an era of moral ambiguity and instant gratification, are we not all, in some way, citizens of our own personal Sodoms? Are we not all faced with choices that test our integrity and values? Conclusion. So, I would love you to comment in the comments section about what you learned from this video today. Please subscribe, like, and share. It encourages us to keep uploading videos relevant to you.